Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Recha, Kodesh. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And I was reading this article here, found it pretty interesting, as it was mentioning some points here about the whole Ukraine war actually being if you've been wondering, it's been going on for so long. Why is it dragged on, right? Why does it continue to drag on? And it's been going on for years now. But it turns out here, at least one thing that was also mentioned here, is that you have certain startup companies that are in the niche or in the field of AI powered killing machines or humanoid robots for soldiers and warfare, and they're actually using Ukraine as a testing ground, basically, to where they can test these robots in real-time warfare and use that to sort of train them and battle test them, you can say, which is pretty interesting, right? So let's read a little bit of this here. It says, Ukraine plans to hyper-innovate humanoid robot soldiers. At the start of February, we pointed out that humanoid warfare nears and suspected these warbots were headed for Ukraine for testing. You see? And if you've ever played the game Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, you'll see that in there, the theme was sort of this futuristic, version of Call of Duty. Or is it Modern Warfare, whichever one. No, it was Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, not Modern Warfare. But they had these exo suits, right, that would allow you to jump super high and do these other things, right? But you can see that along with the advancements of artificial intelligence and robotics, one of the main areas in which they are trying to push it to is the military side of things, right? To have that military superiority using, as it says, humanoid warfare. That hunch was confirmed by early March after a Time magazine article reported that Foundation Robotics, a U.S.-based startup developing humanoid robots for industrial and military applications, had recently sent 2 Phantom Mk1 robots to Ukraine for testing. Mike LeBlanc, co-founder of Foundation, the modern battlefield across Western Eurasia has become the world's AI weapons lab, where drones, autonomous systems, electronic warfare, and ground bots are being stress tested in real time. So you now see why they were, not so hesitant to send these, packages and this military backup, so to speak, and so on to Ukraine, because there was benefit in there for, those that were sending them, primarily the U.S. It wasn't just like, oh, we just send resources over there. But it seems here that one of the things that was being gained was the ability to stress test in real time the new weapons, AI powered, weapons, because where else would they be able to do that, right? You can only simulate so much of it. A part of it needs to be out there in the wild, because in the wild, right, in real life, unexpected things can happen that you can't account for. And that's the exact edge cases and training data they love and need. Because ultimately you don't know what you don't know, right? So how do you find out little by little what you don't know? Well, you go into the real world. It says here, for any war unicorn startup trying to validate AI-enabled killing machines, Ukraine has become the proving ground, and soldiers on the front lines will quickly tell these startups whether their products work or not. See, So then they start to incorporate these humanoid robots, drones, AI powered killing machines on the battlefield, and then they can see how effective actually are they. And once they're tested and proven, then they can just mass produce them and tell, well, you can use this for whatever you want. You can use these to police your streets. You can use this. So, when you have a highly dangerous situation, you don't need to send in real officers yet. You can send in your first line of defense to be these humanoid robots because they're expendable. If their head gets shot off, that's not a life that's lost. It says here, that's the part of hyper innovation that people aren't seeing yet, but it is becoming visible as low cost AI killing systems begin to spread across the world. You see that? This is the current talk of this age, right? It's to the point where now it's like the talk of AI powered killing systems, which go beyond the humanoid robots. But this is the prison planet being formed before your eyes. Last month, we were the first to debut a new video showing the Phantom Mk1 robot operating a mobile light mortar system during a live fire training exercise in Las Vegas, Nevada. Now, several Ukrainian news outlets, including United 24 Media, say that Ukraine plans to launch a grant competition to develop humanoid robots for military use, part of a broader push to automate the front line and reduce battlefield risk for its troops. And who does that benefit? Obviously more than Ukraine, right? Ukraine is not the only one benefiting from this because that data is data, right? And that's why they stress the importance the value of data, because some kinds of data are harder to capture than others. It says here's more from the report. Ukraine will launch a grant competition focused on developing humanoid robots for the needs of the defense forces. Brave One head Andriy, not even going to attempt to pronounce that last name, said during the Brave One Advantage event attended by a Militarny correspondent on July 2nd. The main goal of the initiative is to robotize as much of the first line of contact as possible and reduce risks for Ukrainian service members. So when you start to see these robots, these MK whatevers, and whatever name they've given them, you start seeing that like iRobot kind of scenario come to life. Some people might wonder, well, how, when did they build these? And no, they have them. The problem isn't about building them. It's about making sure they function right, testing them. And what better way in place, especially for battle, than, what we just read here in Ukraine. So it's no coincidence that they're doing this competition. According to, what's this guy, Andriy, the project follows a wider global trend as humanoid robotics is rapidly developing in the United States and China. And I believe, I forgot what it might have been the Time magazine, or an article that I read somewhere that mentioned, it said 2026, the advancement, the focus is going to shift to embodied AI. That's your robots controlled or powered by artificial intelligence. At the initial stage, Ukrainian developers are expected to focus on simpler platforms that can gradually receive more advanced functions. Then it goes on and on and on. So keep in mind, right, there was a time when your driverless cars, driverless Uber systems like Waymo and so on didn't exist. And now it's commonplace. It's common in certain places. And so before you know it, you'll start to see more and more of these humanoid robots in certain areas, maybe on the street, in certain stores, certain, buildings, and then in people's homes, okay, in grocery stores. So don't be surprised. You walk in a Stop and Shop and you see a damn humanoid robot with a drape with an apron on, stocking the shelves, greeting you and shit. Don't be surprised, because that's about to be the new norm. All right, this is what's going on in the world, and that's why, and it's gonna escalate more and more, and this is why we're gonna need defense from the Lord, because now it's to the point where we're not going up against just man. You know, they come after you. They come after you with drones, robot dogs, humanoid robots that are running friggin' 60, 70 miles an hour. You're like, what the hell going? This nigga catching up to the car. This is Daniel chapter 12, verse 1. And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people. And there shall be a time of trouble. This is the main part here, such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. And at that time thy people shall be delivered, every one that shall be found written in the book. You see? And so if you're not written in the book, well, good luck to you, because you're going to need it in these times. You know, we're going to pray and hope on the Lord's mercy. But as it says, this is a time of trouble such as never was since there was a nation. And you can see why, because the level of not only wickedness, but also the level of power through technology that man has been able to achieve in this day and age is far past what they had access to in the past. So if they have access to more advanced technology, more dangerous weaponry, and they're at a more wicked level than they've ever been, that's a pretty bad combo, isn't it? But hey, once again, the warning goes out, and it won't be long before these warnings cease. And then you're left to deal with what you were being warned about. And if you don't have that covering from the Lord, it's going to be a cold day in hell. But anyway, I'm going to end it here. Lord willing, that was edifying and informative to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakha Kodash. And until next time, Shalom.